There's another one, as Victor Wembanyama is not the only one from his family making waves. We heard about his sister Eve, but now his brother Oscar Wembanyama, the 18-year-old in France, has been putting on a clinic with a 100% shooting night, including that nice little fadeaway and a few dunks in his latest game, and it has Spurs fans clamoring at the idea of Oscar and Victor together. We have to dive into Oscar Wembanyama's recent performances, what he could look like in the future, and why Spurs fans are very keen on snatching him up as soon as possible. But it's not just that. We have some other very interesting stats that paint an even clearer picture of one pitfall of the San Antonio Spurs right now. And we're going to start with that. And look, Oscar Wembanyama, look, I know we're going to watch these highlights again later. I got some very interesting stats there to show you, but I want to bring this up for a second. What is this? Well, it's the Spurs stats this year. And look, I just like to show this to give that kind of big picture. Let's take a look at everyone, kind of look at the team, because right now, look, coming off that loss to the Suns, it wasn't ideal, but look, we're missing three key players. We're missing Dylan Harper, we're missing Stephon Castle, we're missing Victor Wembanyama. Look, it's all going to be okay. De'Aaron Fox has been great, though. The thing I wanted to point out here is, again, kind of that three-point shooting, right? Without Wemby there, we have Fox, who is, I think I told you guys, I told you, this dude can shoot well from three when he's healthy. That pinky is doing good. Look at that percentage, 38%, baby, on 6.5 attempts a game. And that's one of the best on the team outside of Harrison Barnes. That really is the best on the team of anyone who has any kind of volume. He's at 38%. The next person who's above 38% is all the way down to David Jones-Garcia, but he's only attempted a few threes this year. So right now, De'Aaron Fox has been doing good, but you can see the Spurs have really not been that great of a three-point shooting team. Champagny hot and cold, Harrison Barnes hot and cold, Castle not really there. But why on earth am I talking about this, right? We knew this. We knew that the Spurs were not a great three-point shooting team coming into the year, and look, we're missing a few guys right now. Well, it's because of one defensive stat, and I first saw this circulating online, Twitter, Reddit earlier today, and I wanted to take a dive into the numbers myself because, like, not that I couldn't believe it, but it reinforces exactly what I've been thinking when I've been watching the Spurs, and it starts here. This is opponent three-point shooting percentage from NBA.com. The Spurs are third last in the entire NBA. Look at the teams around us. Yeah, the Knicks are there. They're 9-6. But the 3-13 Nets and 4-13 Hornets are the only teams in the NBA that are worse at giving up a higher percentage on the three ball than the Spurs. The Hornets are allowing their opponents to shoot 41% from three. The Nets 40. The Spurs 39.2. That to me is insane, especially when you look at the opponent field goal percentage. Thanks to the Wemby effect, inside the three-point line, we're not giving much up. 45% from the field for opponents. That's actually way better in terms of the NBA ranks. But for threes given up, it's right there, 39.2%. And you see that as well in terms of opponent three-point makes. We're around middle of the pack when it comes to giving up attempts, but we are, once again, 25th in the NBA there at giving up opponent three-point makes. Now, we're tied with someone else, but still, just behind the Clippers, who are 5-12, the 2-15 Pelicans, the Knicks, for some reason, they're just bad at doing it too, and the Utah Jazz, who are 5-11. So, the Spurs have that one key pitfall, and I talked about this yesterday. Look, the third quarters are one thing, but giving up these open three-point shots is another thing, and I think it could very well be a focus for the Spurs. And now, look, I think when we get Dylan Harper, we get Wemby, we get Castle especially back, this is going to look a little bit better because, you know, again, we're the fifth best team in the NBA in terms of opponent field goal percentage. Like, we are not giving up good shots. Like, we are contesting most shots. Again, only the 14-2 Pistons, 9-8 Celtics, who are known for their defense, 11-6 Heat, and 17-1 Thunder are better defensively in terms of opponent field goal percentage, but then it's only two of the worst teams in the league that are worse at giving up the threes. I don't know how you paint a clearer picture than that. The three-point defense has been bad, and you can see it. I don't think it's all hustle. I think it's some of these defensive rotations, maybe working on a system without Wemby there. I'm not sure, but it needs to be something that gets addressed. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that down below as we get into the main event today. And look, I know we're excited to watch these highlights again. Oscar Wembanyama. Yeah, there's another one. And look, we made a short a while ago about Eve Wembanyama, or Eve Wembanyama, if you want to pronounce her name in the French way. She's making waves, the older sister, as a pro hooper in France. And I encourage you to check out some Eve Wembanyama highlights. She's nuts. But Oscar, this guy has been unbelievable. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say, he's like, oh my God, 25 point per game scorer, going to be a first overall pick. No, there's a lot of growth left to do. But in this recent game versus Chalon for Espoir Elite, 16 points, 4 boards, 5 assists. 7 for 7 from the field, 5 for 5 from 2, 2 for 2 from 3, 16, 4, 5, 2, and 2. In 26 minutes, he was everywhere, scoring at all 3 levels, facilitating offense, and impacting the defensive end with activity and timing. And I will link this tweet down below. Please go give him credit they deserve. This is courtesy of Scouting Lab on Twitter, but still, you can see the efficiency is there. Now, the very interesting thing about Oscar, like we heard a bit in news about him. You can see here back in October, there's another Wemby brother, 6'7", maybe 6'8", who plays for a pro basketball team based in France. You can see his averages this season for the 18-year-old. He's not 6'5", that's what he's listed at. He's actually taller. He's growing. 8.9 points per game, 4.1 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, and a block. He's just the kind of guy that can do everything. And here's a look at every game that he has played this season for Strasbourg. You can see that 16, 5, and 4. This is not just like a one-off. He had games earlier this year, 13, 4, and 2, 11, 4, and 3 with 2 steals. You can see him getting blocks, 2 blocks, 1 block, 1 block. Like, the steals especially are great, though. He has a 4-steal game. He has two different 4-steal games and 3 different 2-steal games. The defense is great. The hustle is there. But for a guy in Oscar that doesn't have much experience playing basketball, that's really good. And what do I mean by not much experience? From what I can understand, he has only been playing basketball for 3 or 4 years. This guy has really not played a lot of basketball. Again, he's only 18, and he won't be able to be drafted, I think, until 2027. I think 2027 is what we're looking at, because I don't think he will get drafted this year, because he's only 18 now as of, like, I don't know. I think that's how it works. I think it's the 2027 draft. And he was mocked, like, a couple of years ago as, like, maybe a top 20-something pick. But Oscar is very interesting because he's a guy that, again, if you can bring him into San Antonio, now I know I'm looking way out into the future, but listen, just watch these highlights and tell me you don't want him, right? I want to dream. I want to believe in Oscar Wembanyama. If you can bring him into San Antonio, not that there's any concern for Wemby leaving or anything. By all accounts, Wemby loves San Antonio. This is the spot he wanted to go to. If he got to pick, this would have been where he chose, but if you can imagine the Spurs with his brother as well, and you can see how the genes run in the family. Ev is a dominant player. Victor is on pace to be one of the most dominant players in the history of basketball. Oscar is young. He's not as advanced as both of them were at his age, but he also hasn't been playing basketball for as long. To me, this screams high upside, low risk draft pick, depending on where you take him, right? He's one of those guys that will probably get a lot of interest based just on his name. And, you know, we do have other interesting picks like that, like Bol and Bronny James. Now, Bol went in the 2nd round, and I think everyone would agree his talent was always there. It was just some other aspects that didn't pan out the right way. And Bronny James, anyway, I'll save my reservations about him. But Oscar Wembanyama, the idea that he could be a San Antonio Spurs, something I don't want to let go of. And right now he has been showing some incredible flashes. The defense is great. The athleticism is great. The feel for the game. Like when you watch these highlights, like these kind of moves here, that's not something that you see often from a guy who's only been playing for a few years. The 3-point stroke is pure right here. Nice little footwork, spin around contested shot. But even the timing on these putbacks for these rebounds, I don't know. I got some high upside for him. And look, I'm excited to watch him pan out for the rest of his career. I want to see where he goes. Is he guaranteed to be a Spur? Far from it. But I can't help when I see a Wembanyama. I got to talk about him. And I hope you guys enjoyed that too. Listen, leave your thoughts on Oscar, all that down below. I've been your host, Josh Gosse, and I'll catch you in the next one.